Erev Torah. Let's continue with the laws of Shabbat. So the next chapter tells us, the Siman, that it's an important thing that a person has to complete Mea Brachot on Shabbat. We already spoke about this before a little bit. Just have to review it because the Shulchan Aruch says over here. So what does that mean? We already taught, right, that on Shabbat the Amidah is short, only 7 brachot, not 19 like we have on Yom Chol. So what does that mean? That we're lacking brachot, because you're supposed to say every day Mea brachot, 100 brachot. And on Shabbat we're lacking, So how much are we lacking? About 20 brachot we're lacking, on Shabbat, because the Amidah is short. So what do we do? How do we fix that? So what we do is several things, right? Number one, we try to eat, some extra foods, for Oneg Shabbat. Eat some snacks, eat some things, good things, Make hadama, make ha'etz, make mezonot, eat some good foods on Shabbat, make more brachot. This is another way you make up the brachot. That's one way, right? That's also there's another thing, which is, as we mentioned, we also bring besamim, on Shabbat, right? To make atzeh, isbeh, right? Mineh, all kinds of things, right? So those, by the way, those packages that people are bringing now, to the shul, those besamim, like you open it, right? The Rabbi has, I think, also. Yonatan he has, right? What's a bracha on that one? You should make boreh mineh besamim. You know why? Because we don't know. It's like a mixture of several things, So we don't know if it's mostly atzeh or bisbeh. So since we're not sure, make boreh mineh besamim. That's what you do when you have a safek. When you have a doubt, bapros, mineh besamim. That's what we do, because otherwise, you could be that you're wrong. That's you gotta do it like that, right? There's no other way. But I remember, the Bet Knesset of Marana, Al Bashalom, and also in Eretz Israel, Yerushalayim in general, they used to bring besamim, for Shabbat, Leil Shabbat, also in the morning, so you can make 2 brachot, right? Isbeh, atzeh, right? At least 2, right? At night and also in the morning. So you're adding also there 4 or 5 brachot. Nice, you also have that, right? So we're adding more brachot with the besamim. We already mentioned right? Just want to tell you again, just to remind you. Also, you can make up the brachot when they're reading the Torah, right, and saying the Birkat HaTorah. Say Amen, and you also Yotzei, Dechovah, with the brachot. And also the Haftarah, right, after. Right, there's one bracha before the Haftarah, and then afterwards, right, there's several of them. So we're also making up with that, saying Amen, right? But you have to remember one thing, that since you're being Yotzei Dechovah, since you're fulfilling the obligation with these brachot, don't say Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo, just Amen.
Wanted to say that when I read Tutkabal Kaddish, nobody say Amen over there.
Oh, that's something else. Kaddish, we're not talking about Kaddish, we're talking about the brachot, right?
It's supposed to be responding.
2 different things. Yeah, of course, they should be answering. Yeah, of course, no question. But that's something else. That's a different story. So here we're talking about Mea Brachot, right? So if you're short with the Mea Brachot, as we said, right, this is the way you make it up. With these brachot, then you have already 100%, right? You have already 100 brachot and more. Now there's a minhag, that came in, a new moda, new fashion came in, pason, you know what it is? The ladies, they make bracha party on Shabbat, they get together, and they bring nice foods, hadama, ha'etz, mezanot, and they make brachot. So this is the purpose of that, to make mea brachot, because the women really, they're lacking even more than we are. You know why? Because they don't do musaf, they don't pray musaf, and some of them also don't do mincha and arvit. They only do shachrit, whatever. So because of that, they're lacking a lot of brachot. So the women, they need a lot of brachot. It's hard for them, really, the truth is, especially on Shabbat, to make up all these brachot. We do the best we can, right? But if a person wants to be machmir on that, the woman, and she wants to try to do mea brachot also, it's very praiseworthy, that she can do that, because it's hard for women. Even on Yom Chol, it's very hard. Because they don't pray, sometimes 3 times a day. Most women, they pray once a day, and even some women don't even do that. You know what I mean? So what can you do, right? If they're not doing it that, how are they going to do Mea Brachot? It's going to be very hard. Okay, fine. So that's when it comes to the brachot, right? Now let's go to another thing, which brings the Rama over here. Right, that there's a minhag, everybody knows this, right? There's a minhag to sleep on Shabbat a little bit extra, take a nap. So most people, when do they do this? After the Seudah, right? In the morning, when they do the Seudah, they get nice and tired, they're sleepy, after the cholent, right? Eshpalo, right? You're nice and sleepy. So you go, to bed, sleep for, 2-3 hours, whatever it is, right? How much you're used to doing. That's also a mitzvah, there is a mitzvah. Why? Oneg Shabbat, you're enjoying, pleasure to sleep, So it's also mitzvah there, So don't think, it's like nothing, it is something, if you really enjoy it, and you're tired and you feel drowsy after the Seudah, yeah, you should, easily take a nice nap. It's a very nice thing. It's a nice mitzvah. I'll tell you, that even the Gedolim, the big Chachamim, they used to do this, not only us. The big Chachamim also. So what does that mean? That we're waiting for you. I'm sorry, you finished? Can we do this later? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, I want to make sure everybody hears everything. Okay, so as we said, right, that the sleep, even the Gedolim, even the big Chachamim, they used to sleep on Shabbat. Who am I talking about? The Arizal, right? They say, in the books, they write, the Arizal, who was the biggest Mekubal of the last 500 years, he used to sleep, in the afternoon, they say 3 hours, after the Seudah. Can you imagine 3 hours? That's a lot of time. That's a lot of sleep. So they say, that he was on a very high level. He had Ruach HaKodesh, so he had, all kinds of dreams, coming with all kinds of Ruach HaKodesh coming there. It was a big thing for him, for us that we're not on that level, but still, can you imagine? Even the Arizal, he did it. He took a nap on Shabbat afternoon, after the Seudah. Even Maran, Rabbi Danielov, I heard from people, who were watching him, that he never really slept on Shabbat, at night. He learned all night on Shabbat, Torah. All night he was learning, until Shachrit. What time did Shachrit start? Over there, 7:30. I was there, 7:30, just like here, same, right? But you guys finished, like 10:30. He finished like 9:15. He was quick. Zerizut, Zerizim Makdimim. You know why? No, right? Not a lot of right. What do you call it? Hashkavat and all these things. The Kriyat Torah was accurately. Half hour they finished everything, all the Kriyah and also the Haftarah, everything. Half hour was finished. That's why it was quick. But here, they do, Hashkava, Baklava, this, Ilui Nishmat, Baba, Neshamot. You're mentioning every Neshama that ever came into the world. I don't know what they're mentioning, It's a little bit too much, really, the truth is, You don't have to go this far, whatever. There is a minhag like this, by the way, but the truth is, this minhag, to mention the Neshamot, it's really from the Ashkenazim, It's not really a Sephardi minhag, this thing. They took it from the Ashkenazim, that's what it is. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. Maran, over there, we never did this, We never mentioned Neshamot, not even not Yom Chol and not Shabbat. We never did this. Unless somebody had, went up to the Torah, for his, he had the Ilu Nishmat, for his father, mother. He did Hashkava, the Chazan, the Baal Koreh would do Hashkava for him. That's it. Otherwise, nobody else was doing Hashkava. Every time, Hashkava, Baklava. It takes too much time, We lose, 45 minutes on these Hashkavot and Baklavot. Too much time. You got better things to do in life. There's more on Shabbat. There's better things to do. Than to mention the dead. Right? The dead, they're doing very well. Baruch Hashem. They're in Gan Eden. Don't worry about them. They're good. They're doing much better than us. You think we're doing good? They're doing much better. They're in Gan Eden with Hakadosh Baruch Hu and with the big Chachamim sitting over there. They don't need us, to pray for them so much. Whatever. Okay, I don't want to get that right too much. It's a minhag. What can you do? Some places have minhag. Minhag. Anyway, right? That's what it is when it comes to the Oneg Shabbat, right? Now there's also another thing, right? After you take a nap, right? That's one thing on Shabbat. You take a nap on Shabbat. You don't sleep. Why? Why is that? They don't let you. You hear this? Oh my God.
Rabbi, sorry. Mea barachot for Giyol, humanit or not?
Machloket. Some poskim say yes, some poskim say no. So if they can do, it's nice, but it's hard, hard for them, so sometimes they have to rely on the lenient opinion, the other opinion that says no. It's hard, for women. It's not easy. They try, what can I do? We try the best we can. It's machloket. Okay. Lo tzarich. Okay. David says lo tzarich. Now here's the thing, right? I want to tell you one more thing, right? There's also another mitzvah besides sleeping in the afternoon, after the Seudah. What's the other mitzvah? Very important mitzvah, Talmud Torah. to learn Torah, on Shabbat. You have to do this also. I mean, it's very important. So, in the old days, right, even today, some places have this, in Yechavadat, where I used to learn, over there they had this, on Shabbat, right, like in the afternoon, they had rabbis coming, one after the other, like 5 rabbis, giving shurim in Torah. So people were coming, and listening to Divrei Torah from the rabbis, the shurim, all day Shabbat, until Mincha time. There was going shurim over there. You know what I mean? So whoever wanted to come can come, listen to shurim, because there is a mitzvah like this, it says in the Shulchan Aruch, to make Talmud Torah, in the shul, in the Bet Midrash on Shabbat, because it's very important on Shabbat, to learn Torah. Not just everything, physical, eat, drink, sleep, you also have to have something ruchaniyut, spiritual, right? That's why, today also we have Baruch Hashem, in many shuls, the rabbi comes, gives drasha on Shabbat, right? At least one rabbi, right? Some places have many rabbis, in Bet Gavriel, like, over there. They probably have like 5 rabbis over there giving drasha. You know what I mean? Not one rabbi. Okay, whatever, it's a big community over there. It's something else, right? So as we said, right? But anyway, the point is, they say, it says in the Shulchan Aruch that this is also very important, that a person has to go do Talmud Torah on Shabbat. Don't just think, everything is like only Shabbat, just to have pleasure, physical. That's not enough. Talmud Torah can get kulam. You know what I mean? So you got to have that too on Shabbat, They say, right, that all the bracha comes from Shabbat, right? Everything, all the blessing for the whole week comes from Shabbat. So how do you get blessing for the whole week to learn Torah? If you learn Torah on Shabbat, you'll be learning all week also. You know what I mean? The bracha comes from there, also for the Torah. But if you don't learn on Shabbat, also you're not going to be learning all week, because you have no bracha for that. You understand? This is the problem, When you don't have bracha, where's going to bracha come from? But the Ramah does mention something, right? Which is brought down from Bet Yosef. Says the Ramah from Bet Yosef, it's brought down there, that really depends, if you're a balabait or you're a Talmid Chacham, What's balabait? The person who works, right? Working person, right? Talmid Chacham, he's learning all day, every day he's learning. Not only on Shabbat, he's learning every day. That's his job, this is life, that's Talmid Chacham, that's his life. So here's the thing, right? The question is, right, what about Shabbat? Who should be learning more? The Talmid Chacham on Shabbat or the balabait? Why is that?
Because he's not learning the whole week.
You see, this is what the Bet Yosef says. Exactly, The Bet Yosef says, since the balabatim are not learning all week, because they're working, so on Shabbat they should be learning more, doing more, as much as possible, maximum. But Talmid Chacham, a little bit less, why? Because since he's learning all week, so now he's got to rest a little bit, he needs a little bit oneg Shabbat, rest, some pleasure, some oneg. He needs to go the other way a little bit, I'm not saying he shouldn't learn at all. I'm not saying that, right? But a little bit less, in order that, they should rest a little bit also on Shabbat. Because all day, all week, he's learning, all day, And so he's tired from that, They say, right, the Chazal, that the Torah makes you tired, Metishet kochot shel adam. It weakens a person, learning Torah all the time. It weakens you, so you need some rest for that. So again, right, as we said, Talmid Chacham on Shabbat, a little bit less learning, but balabait should be learning more, maximum, right, as much as he can do on Shabbat, because he's working all week. But as I told you, right, in the beginning when we started, Maran Al Shalom, he wasn't like this, he didn't go like this. He was learning on Shabbat all night. He didn't sleep all night. Shabbat. All night until the morning. Because he knew, that Shabbat is the most important time to learn, So when did he sleep then on Shabbat? 24 hours no sleep? He only slept in the afternoon, as we said, right? 3 hours, after the Seudah. That's what he did. That's it. The Gedolim, the big Chachamim, how much they sleep every day? About 3-4 hours. That's it, maximum. That's what they do. So Maran, that's what he did. He took a nap in the afternoon, and that was it, right? But at night, learning all night. I heard also, same thing. Alav Shalom, the Rabbi Milubavitch, Rabbi Schneerson. You remember him? So they say, there's a story like this I heard, that when he wanted to marry, his wife, and that was, his father-in-law was the old Rabbi of Chabad, right? Yosef Yitzchak, right? That was his name, no? Am I right? Yosef Yitzchak.
Yes.
He was, he knows, okay, David knows. Right? So he was the old Rabbi, right, of Chabad. So what happened was that the new Rabbi came to him, he said, I want to marry your daughter. That's how it happened, right? He married his daughter. So you know what he told him, Rabbi Yitzchak Yitzchak? He told him, Alav Shalom. He said, I'll give you my daughter on one condition. You never sleep on Shabbat at night. Never in your life. You're always going to be no sleeping on Shabbat. That's what he told him. You understand? So it looks like he accepted it, right? That's why he became who he was, right? When you're like that, you become what you are. Baruch Adonai Leolam. אמן ואמן. רבי חנין, שאומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לעשות לישראל, לפיכך חיבר להם תורה ומצוות, שנאמר אדוני חפש, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.